The date is September 12, 1918, and Second Lieutenant Frank Luke grips the controls of his fighter. He expertly navigates a barrage of heavy enemy fire as his specific target swells into his field of vision. The rest of his squadron holds their distance, wisely staying out of the lethal range of the ground fire. This mission is inherently dangerous for a single airman, but why risk the entire unit when a single, troublesome, and Maverick pilot can quickly execute the necessary task? Frank had been volunteered for this sortie after a clash with his squadron commander, a commander who clearly viewed the potential loss of Frank as an uncritical one. Yet, Frank has no space for regret now. He sees the German observation balloon, a large, hydrogen-filled sentinel used for vital reconnaissance on troop movements, looming huge before his tiny aircraft. Frank squeezes the trigger, and his twin machine guns roar, ripping bullets directly into the balloon's fabric, causing the highly flammable hydrogen to vent. He maintains the stream of fire, desperately hoping to ignite the gas. But despite his focused effort, the flames don't catch, forcing him to sharply pull away before a collision. He glares back at the still-floating menace. Damn it. He spits, swinging his S-13 fighter around for a second pass. He once again plunges into the air, now thick with anti-aircraft bursts, unleashing a second, furious barrage. He is determined to bring it down, even as the enemy shrapnel tears at his aircraft. He pours lead into its flank, drawing closer, but it never combusts, and at the last possible moment, he narrowly avoids disaster. The brave aviator escapes the initial enemy onslaught, but his mission feels incomplete. He knows he's punched dozens of holes into the fabric. By all reasonable standards, his job is done. But Frank demands to see fire. If you're captivated by this story of courage and aerial heroism, please show your support. Hit the like button on this video, comment below with your thoughts on Frank Luke's daring, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future tales of history's greatest flyers. Fearless, and ignoring the damage already inflicted on his bird, he executes a hard turn for a third and final run. High above, his squadron mates watch in stunned disbelief as he braves the enemy fire for a third time. Frank locks in, pulls the trigger, and empties the remaining rounds in a desperate, last-ditch effort. Finally, a single bullet finds its mark and detonates inside the balloon. The tiny spark rapidly expands, feeding on the highly flammable hydrogen, exploding outward and chasing the plume of escaping gas. In an instant, a colossal fireball lights up the battlefield. Though pilots who shot down balloons often fell victim to the resulting inferno as it descended upon them, Frank is too fast. He dives away before the flames can engulf him, making a rapid exit as the target collapses into a falling pillar of smoke and fire. The squadron leader, watching from above, is in absolute shock. It appears that, despite all his insubordination, this new pilot was certainly no coward. Upon returning to the airfield, his peers greeted Frank with a newfound, grudging respect. Yet, a single balloon wasn't enough to secure popularity. Still, he found an ally and fellow squadmate Joseph Wehner. That victory on September 12th ignited a fire within Frank, and alongside Wehner, they launched into an aggressive rampage. The two men repeatedly volunteered for every mission available. When official missions weren't forthcoming, they took it upon themselves to go free hunting, engaging every balloon and aircraft they encountered. For 3 consecutive days, the front line was illuminated by flaming balloons, with the pair frequently returning in aircraft so severely damaged that they needed entirely new machines. On September 15th, Wehner and Frank conferred, strategizing on how to maximize their attacks. It was then they hit upon the revolutionary idea of attacking at dusk, just as evening turned to night, hoping the reduced light would impair the enemy's aim and catch the German ground. Crews busy lowering the cumbersome balloons. They put this idea to the test that same day, taking off at 6:50 p.m. They arrived as dusk settled over the war-torn landscape, finding a balloon nestled among the trees while the ground crew prepared to deflate it. The setup was flawless. The pair plummeted directly onto the target, guns blazing. Bullets showered the enemy and the balloon erupted instantly. Flames completely consumed the airship within seconds, creating a massive fireball that once again brilliantly illuminated the area. Though the Germans spotted them and the anti-aircraft guns opened up on the two Spads, it was too late, and the duo made their clean escape. The tactic was a resounding success, and Frank's superiors immediately began spreading word of this new, deadly approach. The very next day, several military dignitaries arrived for a demonstration, focusing on 2 enemy balloons visible from the airfield. Among them was Eddie Rickenbacker, the top American ace and a recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross. Brim with confidence, Frank Luke approached him and declared, "Keep your eyes on these 2 balloons. You will see the first one out there go up in flames at exactly 7:15, and the other one will do likewise at 7:19. Rickenbacker offered a skeptical glance as Frank headed for his fighter. The 2 aircraft then flew off into the deepening darkness, leaving the assembled officers in silence. As the clock neared the promised time, an officer voiced his deep skepticism. "It's impossible. To get a balloon at all is a feat. To time its demise 5 hours ahead is beyond reason, and to do it at night is simply not on the cards." Seconds later, by God, there she goes. A bright orange flash marked the victory precisely on time, and the men erupted in cheers. Minutes later, the second balloon was also brought down in a ball of flame, much to the joy of the assembled crowd. A distant hum grew louder, and the gathering erupted in cheers and applause as the 2 planes returned, their warbirds scarred from propeller to tail by the battle. That day, Frank Luke earned his enduring nickname, the Arizona Balloon Buster. On September 8, a mere 6 days after the Rampage had begun, Frank and Wehner were out on one of their routine hunts. Frank had already destroyed 2 more balloons with Wehner providing cover. Tragically, neither noticed as Defied D.VII has descended upon them from above. The Germans focused on Wehner, forcing him into sharp evasive maneuvers. The Fokkers gave chase, their guns ripping apart the small biplane. Without radios, Frank tragically remained unaware of his friend's desperate situation and flew onward. Wehner fought valiantly but could not hold back the attack. His wings were shredded, and his warbird plummeted to the ground. Joseph Wehner tragically perished from his injuries. The incident devastated Frank, though his exploits had, by this time, captured the public imagination and his feats were being shared globally. He could not bring himself to celebrate. What choice remained for Frank? He decided to continue the fight alone, taking down several more balloons across the front. It wasn't the same without his friend, and the crushing odds were inevitably going to catch up with him. On September 29th, Frank set off against 3 balloons, positioned 6 miles deep behind enemy lines. Approaching the target, he shot down one and then another with practiced perfection. Just one left. As he began his approach, a shot rang out, louder than the usual fire. Frank looked down. He had been hit in the chest. Struggling to keep his plane level while still under fire, he managed to unleash one final burst. He smiled through the pain as the last balloon erupted in fire. It pulled away, but a golden T sustained the flight. Rapidly losing blood, he crash-landed near the town of Marvaux, France. With a colossal effort, he managed to exit the wreckage. When the German troops reached him, they found him 100 meters away from his aircraft, ready for a last stand that was never to be. He had succumbed to his injuries. In his short 17 days of action, Frank Luke had made a permanent impact on the United States Army Air Service. The legend of the Arizona Balloon Buster was immortalized. Edward Rickenbacker, now a Medal of Honor recipient himself, would later say of Frank, he was the most daring aviator and greatest fighter pilot of the entire war. His life is one of the brightest glories of our air service. Frank Luke Jr. was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor and 2 Distinguished Service Crosses for his valiant actions, achieving a final total of 18 victories, 14 balloons, and 4 aircraft. Frank Luke's legacy still echoes today. On February 4, 2023, when a He-altitude balloon was spotted over North America inside U.S. airspace, 2 F-22 Raptors were scrambled with orders to take it down, modern-day balloon busters. Their call signs were Frank 1 and Frank 2. Splash, one reported. That is a to kill. The balloon is completely destroyed. We hope you enjoyed learning about the incredible bravery of Frank Luke, the Arizona Balloon Buster. If you found his story inspiring, please take a second to like this passage. Comment below to tell us which part of his rampage amazed you the most. And be sure to subscribe for more historical deep dives.